Hey, what's up people? Welcome to another video of my collection. This is the Spyderco Military, the C36. Introduced in 1996. Pretty old actually, this design. And I think this was Spyderco's really first successful knife model, if I am correctly. It's got a 4-inch blade, like all the other knives that I showed you recently. 10.3 centimeters again. It's a little bit over 4 inches actually. The weight on this is only 122 grams, which is 4.2 ounces. Not bad for such a huge knife. I mean, it's got a giant handle on there. Look at this. I can almost fit my hands. I have small hands, but you can fit almost any hand size on this. Crazy. Super slim also, and you know what, it helps kind of understand the knife better if you look at just the outer lines of the design. If you just look how the knife is shaped, you will understand it quite easily. You can see there is this blade that has a continuous drop towards the tip, so it's very straightforward to get to this very fine point, and you have this slight arc in the handle, and it helps you point the knife at stuff. So if you say you want to cut something that's over here, you can point it very natural in that direction, and that thumb ramp also helps you get more pressure towards the tip. So it is a very natural feeling knife in a sense of this is very simple to use and understand. You'll pick it up, you will feel that it is very, despite its length, very easy to control from the handle. So that's a great thing, I think. And then you have this blade that also has a straight cutting edge and then a little bit of belly, and then goes towards the tip relatively quickly. So it is really more of a pointy design, but because of that belly section here, it also slices really well. So it's not just stabby, but it's also slicey at the same time. The full flat ground blade helps here. S30V on this one still. I do like S30V. It took me a while to warm up to the steel. I used to hate it because it would chip so easily on the edge, but I do understand it a little bit better, and how to, you know, how to resharpen it and how to treat it. And yeah, I've done a lot of testings on S30V, and in general I just use the steel a lot, and I can say that it is a steel that likes to chip, or chips easier than other steels that are a little bit tougher on the edge, but it also resharpens relatively good. For a PM steel, I think S30V resharpens well. There are steels that don't take an edge as well as other steels, and yeah, S30V is one of the steels that takes an edge really, really well. I think, if I read this correctly, the Military was also the first production knife that ever had a PM steel on it. So this is a very, not only is it a big model for Spyderco in terms of its success, but it's also, you know, for the knife industry in general, with the first PM steel being used on this knife. And I think it's really influential for a lot of other Spyderco designs, because obviously the PM2 came after that, and you can't even see that. Let's put this up here. So this is the PM2 in relation to the Military, and then the Terra 3 also came a couple of years, actually quite a while after the PM2. The PM2 was around for a long time, and both of these models have changed over time. All of these three models. No, the Terra 3 is I think still the same. They have a lightweight version, but it's still the same than it was. Yeah, but these two models have changed quite a bit over the years in terms of steels, pocket clips. The PM2 used to have a pocket clip that was very similar to the military's, and then they changed it later. And now, obviously the big transition now for the military is that it gets its second version, which will have the 4-way pocket clip also, and the shorter clip, and it's also going to come in a compression lock, as opposed to a liner lock. So it's going to be more like a PM2, just bigger basically. Although I think the PM2 has a slightly different blade shape. The PM2 has less belly basically. You can see this very well if you take out, let's see, if you bring out a stretch, which is basically a stretch, is could be seen as a PM2 with a backlock and a little bit more belly. And you can see that here, that this knife right here, the stretch has just more belly. And the military also has more belly, I think. Do I like that the military will come in a compression lock in the future? I think it depends what you do with it. For if you have one of these jobs where you take out your knife, you have to open and close it really quickly, and ergonomics don't play a huge factor. Let's say you're just cutting boxes or opening zip ties. I used the PM2 for I think 6 or 7 years straight at my workplace. I've used the PM2 a lot in my life. I have gone through several pocket clips. I have different scales for this, so these are not my only scales, although these are the original scales, and I've sharpened this knife so often. So yeah, I have a lot of work hours on this one, and I think it's a really great work knife if you're just cutting boxes and opening zip ties. But if you, and I highly encourage you to take a PM2 or a Para 3 and find a stick, a hard stick, a proper hard stick, not just a soft branch, and yeah, go ahead and carve it or fiddle on it and do some fine shavings. You will realize pretty quickly that the PM2 and the Para 3 have really some ergonomic issues with that compression lock, because there is this ramp right here, and that makes for a really intense hotspot when you're cutting wood. So like I said, if you do the normal EDC stuff, cutting boxes, opening up zip ties, I think the compression lock is really great. It's also a really solid, strong system. It pinches the lock basically in between the stop pin and the blade, so it's really secure. And it's also really fidgety. It has a lot of fun factor to it. But the military is just ergonomically a lot better with a liner lock. So yeah, I think that would be the biggest selling point for the old military, is that it has better ergonomics. And yeah, the pocket clip, a lot of people complain about tip down only knives, but I think it makes a lot of sense. You pull it and you open it as you pull it, because as you grip it, your thumb is already where it needs to be. And if it would be the other way around, you would have to adjust a lot, because this is a giant handle. People seem to forget this, but this is a big handle, and you pull it out and you have to adjust several times before you get to the opening hole. So yeah, I think tip down has some disadvantages with more dust getting in here in the action, but it has also a lot of advantages with you being quicker to open it. So by the way, speaking of dust getting in the action, I'm not sure if you can see this, but my knife is absolutely filthy. This is completely dirty on the inside. I meant to clean it one day. I never clean it really. I just wash it up with water, drop some oil from the top here. I never take it apart. I think I've never done it since I own it. I'm not even sure how this looks inside, but yeah, I can imagine. This only has the liners on one side, but by the way, which helps for making it lightweight. Actually, there are 2 liners, but the second liner only runs for the 2 how are they called again? Standoffs, for the 2 standoffs. And the real liner goes for the lock, but on the other side it's just a partial liner, so it keeps a lot of weight out of the handle. So this is a really lightweight knife for the size. One other thing, despite the ergonomics, would be lock strength in terms of compression locks to liner locks. And I've shown on this channel how weak liner locks are several times, but please take into consideration that all of these liner locks were really inexpensive liner locks. There were most of these liner locks that fail easily below 50 or 50 bucks. And this is a lot more expensive. There is more engineering in this liner lock than in other liner locks. So first of all, it's way thicker. This is like twice the thickness of like a, I don't know, QSP or CBB liner lock. This is a lot thicker. And the second thing is, usually liner locks, they lock up at the tang of the blade right here. So if you switch it around, that's the tang of the blade where the locks up, right? So it's here. So, and the thing is that usually, not sure if you can see this, usually these are straight rams, okay? They are like one, it's not straight, it's at an angle, but it's not curved or anything. But these rams, as you can see, they have a slight dip to it. So there is like an arc to it, okay? Meaning that you have a high point here, and then it goes low, and then it goes up again. And what that does really is, if you open up the knife, and there is pressure generated, pressure is put on from here, down here, the liner lock goes in that gap in between, and there is a slight corner on the other side, meaning this knife is really hard to disengage because there is like a slight curvature, and then there is a secondary point here. And if the liner lock locks up here, it can't move if there's too much pressure on it. So this knife is a lot stronger than most liner locks. And I would argue actually that this is the best liner lock on the market currently. Maybe even, I'm not sure if we could say it's the best liner lock ever on the market. Maybe it is. In terms of production knives, I think the Military is a strong contender for the best liner lock knives. And for sure better than the Microtech Silcom, better than a lot of other liner locks that you see, even from Spyderco. The Military is just a little bit, I don't know, it's just the thickness, the curvature in the tang, a lot of things go into this knife. It's not just a simple liner lock. It feels like it because it functions like it, but it's really not. So yeah, it's kind of sad that the best liner lock on the market goes away now for another compression lock knife. And like I said, there are places for these knives. I like these quite a bit, but I don't like these as much as the Military, because the Military is just more ergonomic to do everything. And these are more specific. These are specific EDC knives that are not, they are not do everything knives for sure. I know this will trigger some people. I don't really care, but yeah, I think the Military is a more universal knife. Way better at food slicing. It's really good at EDC tasks. I mean, you could technically do some outdoor activities with this. S40V is a little bit of a, you know, not the most stable steel at the edge, like I said, so you have to be a little bit careful. By the way, if you sharpen S40V with diamond stones and then on ceramic and then leather, you will have a lot better edge stability than with just like ceramic or, yeah, magnesium stones or any other material really. So yeah, there is a lot of toughness in S40V if you do the right things yourself, but don't expect it to be super tough from the factory, because the, you know how it is, belt edges or production edges are not the best really. It's also a lot thinner behind the edge than both of these knives. I've sharpened my PM2 quite a bit, but it was thicker. I remember I took the behind the edge thickness when I got it the first day, and it was a lot thicker than the Military out of box. So the Military has a, does it have a wider blade? Slightly, not really. It has a longer blade, it has more belly, it has a thinner geometry, it has a more ergonomic handle if you buy the liner lock version, which are horribly overpriced. I have just, before I started this video, I looked up the prices of these now. Crazy. Spyderco prices for the PM2 Military Para-Free, they are not, I don't know what's going on, but these are not, like, these are too expensive. You shouldn't pay 300 bucks for a Military. That's crazy what people want for these. I think the new compression locks will be a little bit, come down a little bit, but still over 200 bucks, which is, you know, it's too much for this knife. I will say it like it is, but still a great knife. I really enjoy it. I'm not sure how long I have mine. It's gotta be a couple of years. 5, 6, I don't know, is it 6 years already? I don't know. 7 years? I don't know. But yeah, I will have this for a long time. I thought about getting another one because these liner locks are getting out of production, but I probably not, because I have a lot of other Spydercos, and these last for a long time. There's nothing that will break here easily. You have to be careful with the tip though, like on all military PM2s, you have to be careful. This is a fine point. You shouldn't, you shouldn't pry with it or do anything stupid. You should use it just as a knife and you're gonna be fine. Yeah. Good tactical knife, if needed also. Besides that, it is a really long and sleek and lightweight and easy to carry EDC knife. Yeah. That's the military. A simple to understand, simple to use, very ergonomic knife, and kind of a Spyderco classic at this point. And yeah, if you would ask me, from these three knives, Para-Free, PM2, military, what's your favorite one? The military, easily my favorite one. It's just the best of all these three in terms of performance, really. So yeah, great knife, great knife. Thank you guys for watching, and maybe we see each other in another video. Goodbye, people.